Hey there, today we're talking about how to pick a catering style for your wedding. We'll cover the major styles so that you can choose the best one that's perfect for you, your budget, and your personality. Hi, I'm Amy Shackelford, General Manager from PalmWood Event Conference in Fort Worth, Texas. Today we are shooting episode 10 of our wedding planning video series, where we bring over 2 decades worth of industry experience to help plan your wedding. Today we're going to talk all about catering styles. The first one we'll talk about is the classic plated meal. There's several different styles of plated meals and they're all really different. And one thing you want to think about with the style of plated meal that you have is that your caterer may or may not be able to handle that typical style. So there's American, which is plated in the kitchen and served to the seat. Russian is where the servers will bring platters to the table and they'll individually serve everyone at the table. French style is tableside service where the dish is actually assembled at the table. So what that might be, or something you might be familiar with maybe, is a tableside guacamole, which obviously is not a French cuisine, but that's a really good American or Texas way to talk about French style. Another thing might be bananas flambé or something like that, cherries jubilee. Those are different items that might be served French style. Family style is where guests help themselves from big platters on the table. So you might have a dish that accommodates a meal for 8 and it's all asparagus. And so everyone would help themselves to asparagus and pass it around. And that's what we call family style. Obviously, there's also buffet. Buffets are a great option too. You can make your buffet up in different ways, whether it's salads, entrees, sides, or you could do a buffet where it's scattered throughout the room. You have salad, entrees, and sides. And so buffets can really come in all shapes and sizes. The pros and cons of a plated versus a buffet, there's so many, and it really just depends on your personalization and what you want out of the reception. Plated meals in most situations create a more formal atmosphere for the reception. And so this way you have control over the flow of your evening a little bit more, because you can say they need 15 minutes for this course. The servers need 10 minutes to accommodate picking up the dirty dishes. And then maybe they need another 10 to put down the next course. So your flow of the evening can be very well structured with a plated meal. Another pro of having a plated meal would be your portion control. People get what's on their plate and that's what they have for the evening. And so that may help you with some of your pricing. Another pro of a plated meal is, in some cases, your actual setups for your event. A lot of times the plated meal aspect really brings a lot of beautiful accessories and decor on your table that's actually going to be useful for the reception. Glassware, your flatware, your china, your chargers, anything like that will add as a decor item in the wedding. Buffets are great because it helps people kind of get up and move around and be more interactive. It also is a good segue into the next activity. So if they go through different stations, then they're already up perhaps to walk over and see the cake being cut. So they all really offer different items. A buffet is also nice in the fact that it helps give your guests variety and different options. And so whether it's a station type of buffet or one long buffet, perhaps you have 3 different entrees and your guests select 2. So it helps give variety to the reception. The food stations that I was talking about, those are really interesting. So food stations are flexible. A lot of times it's easier to include your favorite foods. It also is an opportunity for your catering team to really personalize, but almost show off a little. If you've got a station where they're cooking pasta, perhaps like this fettuccine that we have here with the chicken scallopini, that may allow for some flair, literally the flames flaring up and you watching this item be cooked in front of you. Another great thing of having food stations is that, again, it helps your guests flow a little bit, but you can create your food station to be, instead of all vegetables on one food station, you can actually create food stations that incorporate small meals. So again, the pasta could become one food station where they walk up, they get a little nibble or a little taste of pasta with a protein. And this is a great small course, if you will, or food station. This includes your chicken, it includes the pasta, and so it's a really good, warm, filling dish, but it doesn't seem overwhelming, and it allows for you to have more of them through the evening. You can also consider roaming menus. A roaming menu is perhaps where your servers are actually walking around with different food items. The servers come to your guests, which is an interesting way to feed 200 plus guests, but it really works well. It creates interaction and creates movement within the room. If your guests are standing or sitting, it helps create a flow that you wouldn't get with a plated or a buffet. It also helps to alleviate lines during the reception. So perhaps you consider something like this, where you've got a protein, vegetables, and a starch, and maybe it's even smaller, or maybe it's even deconstructed a little bit to where someone could actually hold it and eat it while they're standing and talking, or perhaps they just kind of nest at a cocktail table and enjoy something like that. Before you decide on a catering style, you really need to consider a few things. One, does your caterer have the experience to pull off that style of catering? Super important, do not set your caterer up to fail. First of all, you'll be nervous, and secondly, they may not perform at best, and you don't want to be the guinea pig. Another thing would be venue size. If you've got a venue that's really small and tight, and you've already maybe at capacity, then you probably don't need to do buffet or food stations because you don't have the room for them. So perhaps that really needs to be a plated style of service. In that regard, you might even consider American because you don't have room for someone to come tableside and prepare something for your guests in front of everyone. The other thing to think about would be your budget. Some of these items may be more expensive than others, and that may be just based on your protein choice. If you're gonna have crab and shrimp and steak and all those really higher priced proteins, then your budget is going to be overwhelmed by protein and by your food anyhow. So perhaps you can do a plated meal with chicken. You know it's a 6-ounce portion. You know your sides are 3 ounce each. And then that way your chef can really work with you on maximizing the budget for a plated meal. If you do that same dish on a buffet, it may actually cost a little bit more because there are times with buffet setups that we can't control portion. And so what's going to happen is your guests may take 8 ounces of chicken instead of the allocated 6. And so your plated meal might be $32, but when you come to a buffet, it may be $35. And that helps us gauge the overage and make sure that everyone gets enough food and that it is equitable based on their appetite. The other thing you want to consider is guest count. The guest count's important in several ways. One, it helps you with your budget. Secondly, if you've got 300 people and you're doing tableside, that requires a lot of utensils. If you're doing family style, your caterer may have to max out at a certain number because they don't have enough serving utensils, tongs, spoons, or perhaps even platters to help you with that family style meal service. And so all of those things are really important. Understanding the capabilities, your guest count, as well as your budget before you decide on your style may really help in those decisions. I'd really like to know what, if you could do whatever you want, what it would be. Is it plated? Is it a mini course like this? Or perhaps it's a roaming menu where you have hors d'oeuvres passed all night long and it never ends. I'd love to hear about that and why. Thanks for spending time with us. We love having you along for this journey. If you haven't done so, please follow us on our social media platforms. Interested in touring PalmWood? We would love to have you. Email me at ashackelford@palmwoodevents.com. I wish you the best and cheers.